Alrighty, chat. So today we got a banger video that just released from Summoning Salt, one of the great YouTube content creators on world records and the history of them. And today we got a banger video titled The History of Super Mario Bros. 3 100% World Records. The 100% intrigues me because I don't know if there's a difference between normal world records for this game and 100%ing it. I don't know what that entails, but I guess we're going to find out here. Let's jump in, chat. Wow! Classic. Everyone knows the intro song. If you've watched Summoning Salt before. A staple NES game, Super Mario Bros. 3.
Super Mario Bros. 3 speedruns are some of the most competitive out there. It has a degree of randomness not found in most platformers.
Randomness?
So much out of your control needs to line up.
Really?
But it also requires relentlessly precise platforming through the entire game.
Oof. Sounds challenging.
We've already been over warpless world records in this game, but there's another even tougher category.
Okay.
100%.
So there is a
And
difference.
over the past 10 plus years, it's become one of the most coveted NES world records. This is the history of Mario 3 100% world records.
I'm ready. Let's go. Yeah, I'm intrigued to see what 100% counts for in world record for this game. Let's see.
So, what is a 100% speedrun?
Yeah.
Well, for a normal warpless speedrun of Mario 3, the only requirement is that you can't use any of the game's warp whistles to jump to a later
No
world.
warp whistles.
However, that category still lets you skip over certain levels,
Okay.
since you aren't required to play them all to beat the game. But for 100%, the rules are a bit stricter. You've got to complete every stage and every map enemy through the entire game.
Oh, wow.
That includes all the numbered levels, forts, airships, and hand stages,
Oh, God.
as well as enemies like Hammer Brothers and Piranha Plants. It's
Wow.
a brutal category. You can't skip over anything dangerous. The origin of this category comes from a speedrun from December 2005. performed
2005.
by David Gibbons. Now, David Gibbons may not be a familiar name to most, but back in the early 2000s, he was one of the most prolific speedrunners around. He held world records in Mario 64, GoldenEye, Castlevania 64, Donkey Kong Country 3, the list just goes on.
Wow. Shout out David.
On Christmas
Okay.
Eve 2005,
Okay.
he added Mario 3 to that list. A 100% run clocking in at 1 hour, 24 minutes, and 10 seconds. Let's dive in.
1 hour,
Gibbons
24
played
minutes.
on the Super Mario All-Stars version of
Oh,
the
this
game,
intro.
but since all his other
It's
records
great.
were on SNES and N64 games, it's likely Gibbons played on this version since he didn't own an NES. He started in World 1 and began making his way through the game.
I have to say, for the time, for 2005, getting a recording like this is actually well produced. Like, David showed up for this speedrun world record with, he was prepared. You know, a lot of these are kind of like, a lot of them, at least back in these days, were kind of like, you know, lost to time, a lot of these videos, but okay, we still got the video here. Pretty decent quality, I mean, for
Gibbons'
recording
first
videos in
goal was to
2005.
build up the P meter as often as he could. The
There wasn't
P meter
any
checks
1080p
every
back
8
in the day.
frames, whether you're running and whether you're on the ground. If both are true, then an arrow builds in the meter, and if not, then it'll lose an arrow. Once the meter is full, you get P speed, allowing you to run much faster than normal.
Really?
So, throughout the entire game, Gibbons frequently tried to run on the ground and build P speed. In World 1, he was able to build it on several occasions, but usually slowed down and lost it slightly after. As a whole, Gibbons was going through stages quickly, but some levels looked more like a casual playthrough. 3-2 in particular had a lot of falling in the water and riding on slow-moving platforms. Since the run was so long, he played a lot of sections safe, slowing down to ensure he didn't take damage or die. But whenever he built P-speed, he was able to fly through levels. And all the while, he was collecting items, which the game automatically gives you after completing worlds and fighting Hammer Brothers.
Okay.
He saved most of these until World 7, which features many of the game's longest stages. So in 7-6, for instance, instead of entering the door to play the level, he used a P-wing to fly over the wall and run to the other side.
Oh.
Level complete in a matter of seconds.
Okay.
All in all, this was a pretty impressive speedrun for its time, and it got a positive reception in the community. But there were a lot of safe strategies used, and it was obvious the world record had potential to go lower. That being said, for the next 6 years, David Gibbons' run remained as the fastest recorded 100% time.
6 years? Bro, I mean, that, still back in the day, but geez, was no one, I guess not a lot of people were attempting it at the time?
During that period, new Mario 3 runners joined Speed Demo's archive, but for the most part, they focused on the game's other categories.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay.
However, for Awesome Games Done Quick 2012, a runner named TJP7154 submitted Mario 3 100%. It got accepted, meaning he'd be running it in front of thousands of viewers that January.
Okay.
So, TJP had to practice. He began streaming 100% runs on his Twitch page, and in November 2011, he beat David Gibbons' record. But this time,
by how much?
100% looked a little different.
Oh. He's doing like wall glitching. Okay. Using some new tactics.
On November 6th, 2011, TJP beat the record by over 2 minutes.
Okay.
A 121.56. And he was able to take full advantage of what had been discovered over the last 6 years. First off, he was far better at preserving P-speed. For instance, in 2-2, he turned back at the start of the stage to build P-speed, then precisely jumped to maintain it through the whole level.
Okay.
4-3 was more of the same, maintaining P-speed by mapping out his jumps perfectly. It was overall a higher level of gameplay than Gibbons' run. There were also smaller optimizations TJP made. It seems logical to jump to get the wand sooner after a Koopa fight, like Gibbons did, but Mario eventually has to slowly fall to the bottom of the screen after grabbing it. So, if he grabs it on the ground instead, Mario falls a much shorter distance and actually gains time.
There you go.
He
Okay.
used this throughout the run to save a few seconds. But here's the thing about TJP. He was practicing for a marathon, not trying to optimize a world record. He was also a showman, never afraid to go for the toughest tricks even if they were risky.
Okay.
So, despite some impressive time saves over David Gibbons, TJP also died 5 times and took damage on numerous occasions. It made for an entertaining run, despite some obvious places to improve. But the biggest addition to TJP's run? He used every trick to his advantage. Welcome to the wonderful yet punishing world of Mario 3's glitches. This is
wonderful
stage
and punishing.
6-9. Normally, you enter the pipe
6-9
level, but instead, TJP did this. It's called a wall jump, an incredibly difficult glitch in Mario 3. First off, you need to jump into the top 6 pixels of a block, and then jump again the frame you hit the block, although in rare cases you may get a second frame. That means you have 6 pixels of wiggle room, and then must time a jump down to the 60th of a second.
Jesus.
That's not easy. But then
especially on an NES controller, are you kidding me?
In order to have the chance to wall jump as Small Mario, you must be at least 2 pixels into the wall. When running, Mario moves 2 pixels and 8 subpixels per frame. There are 16 subpixels in a pixel, meaning essentially he moves 2.5 pixels per frame. Depending on how you're lined up, the wall jump can be impossible.
Really?
For instance, if you happen to be 1 pixel away from the wall with a low subpixel value, you'll only be 1 pixel deep into the wall on the next frame and won't have the chance to wall jump. If you instead had a high subpixel value, the 8 subpixels gained would cause Mario to move an extra pixel deep, and the wall jump would be possible. The math works out so that you only have a 60% chance to get the wall jump, even if you do everything right. Your subpixel value and distance from the wall must line up properly. Another trick that requires both a precise jump and subpixel luck is clipping. If you jump right into the corner of a block as Big Mario, the game thinks his head is stuck inside, and its solution is to zip you out to the right. This means you can skip straight through entering a door to play a stage, and go right to the end.
Okay.
But of course, in addition to needing a frame-perfect jump to hit the corner of the block, you also need subpixel luck to clip in far enough. Even if you get a frame-perfect jump every time, Mario only zips less than half the time in practice.
Less than half?
As difficult and random as these tricks are, TJP was committed to going for them. He went for the wall jump in 6-9 and got it 7th try.
7th?
He went for the clip in 7-1 and got it 17th try.
17th?
He went for a clip in 7-5 and failed 9 times before giving up.
Wow.
Finally, in 7-6,
determination.
he hit a clip first try,
Nice.
indicating his efforts. Was this all actually worth it? Well, despite a lot of misses, TJP clearly showed that if performed fast enough, the wall jump and all the various clips could potentially save big time. A few weeks later, just before his GDQ run, TJP set another 100% world record, 120.29.
Okay.
It was cleaner overall with fewer deaths, and took no more than 6 tries to get the major clips in World 7. Despite a lead of over 3 minutes, TJP couldn't help himself from going all out in the last stage of the game. He started by going into the basement, and failing a clip 31 consecutive times.
31 times.
He then returned to the start of the level,
in a speed
and
run.
attempted a different clip 4 times.
And it's still
before
worth
giving up
doing.
and taking the elevator. He then successfully hit a clip at the top of the level, but it actually lost him time because of how slowly you move through the wall.
Oh no.
He may have lost over 1.5 minutes in one stage, but his run looked cool, and was still a world record.
Okay.
Now, TJP's run stood as the official record for about 8 months. It was beaten in August 2012, and the runner to do it is pretty well known today.
Oh yeah?
Mitch Flowerpower. By 2012, Mitch had
Flowerpower.
already been a top Mario 3 runner for years. He got the warpless record in 2010, and likely had a 100% run faster than TJP's runs back in 2011. But he didn't record his time until 2012. By then, Mitch's skills had risen far beyond TJP's. And as a result, he was able to do this to the world record.
Whoa. Jeez. Okay.
100%
Let's
had
go,
just
Mitch.
been taken to another level.
Wow.
And the way Mitch did it, P-speed, P-speed, P-speed. He had practiced runs of individual levels for years, and was able to apply P-speed techniques there to full game runs.
Okay.
The only problem with this record, it wasn't exactly 4K quality. A low-resolution camera pointed at a TV.
Dang.
But the gameplay
Does it
on
still
the
counts?
screen was unbelievably high quality for the time. Take 1-3 for instance. Mitch did a tiny jump over a Koopa to build P-speed while jumping off the boomerang, bro. Take the first fort in World 4. This is an incredibly tough stage, but Mitch kept P-speed the entire way through. There are some really precise jumps in there, but he never slowed down. Mitch's gameplay was not only cleaner, but also smarter. In World 6's first fort, Mitch powered up, then intentionally took damage so he could run on the spikes quickly, instead of slowly riding on the platform.
I see, okay.
There were time saves like this all across the run, allowing Mitch to be multiple minutes ahead after 6 worlds. But instead of going for the wall jump in 6-9 and the clip in 7-6, Mitch used P-Wings in both stages to fly straight up top, instead of using them for safer strategies in stages like TJP did. He still managed
so you
to
can
get
it every time.
Clip second try, and got a couple clips in 7-5. It was far from a perfect run, but Mitch's 114 was the new gold standard.
That's crazy.
For 100% runs.
Wow.
Now, when compared to
Are we going to see a sub
Mario
1 hour?
other long category,
Possibly.
100%'s leaderboard was a little different. Mitch was way ahead of the pack in 100%, but he had one active competitor for warpless runs, a speedrunner known as Karua. Throughout 2012, Mitch and Karua were locked in a warpless world record battle, trading the record back and forth throughout the year. Mitch knew Karua would be an incredible 100% runner if he ever gave it a try, and he encouraged him to start running it. So, later that year, Karua did. And in December, he beat Mitch's world record.
Wow.
113.52.
Let's go.
Karua had a different approach this run. Mitch went all out, executing as many tough strategies as he could and being less concerned about mistakes. Karua, on the other hand, went for a more consistent run. He expected to get hit and make the occasional mistake, but his initial goal was to avoid dying, something TJP and Mitch failed to do. He also wanted to have a cleaner run overall. Mitch had some slowdowns in World 5, while Karua was able to hold on to his Fire Flower. This allowed him to build P-Speed in 5-3, while Mitch had to slowly jump his way through. Keeping with his conservative strategies, Karua saved a lot of items for the later worlds, and P-Winged over 6-9 and 7-6. He also used the P-Wing in 7-9, allowing him to go straight to the top and skip part of the maze-like stage.
Nice.
He still went for the 7-1 clip, and got it 5th try. So overall, his safe strategy worked beautifully. Karua completed the run without dying, and ended up with a 43-second world record improvement over Mitch. The run certainly wasn't without its faults. Small time losses were scattered across the run, especially in World 6, and he took a lot of time trying to build P-Speed at the start of 7-2. But Karua said that all he wanted with this run was a starting point. He wanted to achieve a clean world record, and then return to improve it in the future. So, 5 months later, that's exactly what Karua tried to do. On May 19th, 2013, after a break from doing 100% runs, Karua got on a pace with a beautiful first half. He bled a little bit from slowdowns in World 5, but his World 6 was much cleaner than his last record. Karua was over half a minute ahead into World 7, but he still had to get the 7-1 clip.
First try? Let's go.
He also gained time by building P-Speed faster in 7-2, and suddenly, he was over 41 seconds ahead going into the final world.
Okay.
World 8 is a very interesting world in Mario 3 speedruns. On its surface, it doesn't seem that difficult. Nearly half the stages are auto-scrollers, which are essentially cutscenes for speedrunners.
So you gotta wait.
And the remaining stages don't have many super difficult tricks. You don't even have to worry about the hands like you do in Warpless. You're forced to play them all in 100%, so the only RNG is a 1.5 time loss from getting pulled in by a hand versus selecting it manually.
Oh.
So, World 8 shouldn't be that tough of a world. But the remaining levels, 8-1, 8-2, the Fort, and Bowser's Castle, they may not be super difficult, but they're just hard enough that, when combined with the pressure of being on world record pace, it can be very easy to make a mistake.
I see, okay.
With the pressure off, top runners rarely make mistakes in World 8. But everything changes when you're on world record pace.
Start getting
One
nervous.
slip of the button, one mistimed jump, and your world record chance can vanish.
It's all over. Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
3 consecutive levels with a mistake. The pressure may have gotten to Karua. But incredibly, since he led by so much going into World 8, he still pulled off a world record by 7 seconds.
Okay.
This may not have been the record he was going for, but Karua was in it for the long haul. 100% had turned into his new favorite category, and he was willing to devote most of his attention to it. And so, throughout 2013, this is what Karua did to the world record.
Just pushing it lower and lower. Will there be a sub 1 hour? I believe. I believe. There's got to be some undiscovered wall glitches after this speed run.
4 months later, Karua had taken the world record all the way to 1:12:40.
Okay.
Despite lowering the record by over a minute, there weren't any big new strategies. The improvements came from making fewer mistakes and slowly adding in small time saves. An example of this is 4-1. Karua used to never build P-speed in this level, and just jumped his way through while slowing down as little as possible. But starting with his 1:12:40, he picked up a Koopa shell, then used it to run into a Parakoopa so he could avoid taking damage and build P-speed. He could then preserve it across the remainder of the level and save a few seconds.
There you go.
This was Karua's category. Mitch was close to him at the start of the year, but as he chose to focus on other categories instead, Karua was able to pull away. And as a result, the gap between the two of them was nearly 2 full minutes. But then, something interesting happened. Mario 3 100% was accepted into AGDQ 2014,
Ooh.
just as it had been 2 years prior with TJP. Only this time, it would be a co-op run, with Mitch and Karua both playing. So, Mitch had to get ready. He'd spent the year playing the game's warpless and any percent categories, setting a total of 5 world records between the two. But he hadn't played 100% in over a year, and since then, Karua had lowered the record 7 times. So, during preparations for that year's GDQ run, the question was, could Mitch keep up with Karua? And on November 13th, 2013, that question was answered.
Oh, beat his record? Yep. Okay. All right.
This was a record improvement of 7 seconds, but there's one important caveat. Mitch played on an NES, while Karua played on Wii Virtual Console. These consoles have different frame rates, and essentially meant that Karua was playing in slightly slow motion compared to Mitch. Over the course of an hour-long speedrun, it worked out that Mitch gained 20 seconds over Karua from frame rate differences alone. So his improvement of 7 seconds was a slower played run overall.
Oh, okay, I see.
It was still the world record. Mitch's strategies were quite different than Karua's. In the World 2 Fort, for instance, Mitch intentionally lost fire to damage boost off the spikes. It's faster initially, but you lose time by not being able to fire kill the Boom Boom and having to power back up later. Mitch also gained time back in a few of the stages where Karua lost big time. But he had his struggles too. His 7-1 clip was 12th try. Yet when factoring in the time save from frame rate differences, it was still enough to beat the world record.
I did it. I did it.
There you go.
After 15 months of dominance from Karua, Mitch was back on top. But in the lead up to their AGDQ run, Mitch wasn't the only one practicing. Karua started doing 100% runs as well. And this time, there was no more Wii Virtual Console. Karua switched to playing on an NES.
Oh, okay.
And so, just a few weeks after Mitch's record, Karua beat him back by 24 seconds.
All right.
Keeping with the theme from these two runners, Karua's record was more consistent than Mitch's run. Mitch had lost fire in the forts in Worlds 4 and 5, while Karua didn't get hit in either spot. And instead of a 12th try 7-1 clip, Karua got it first try.
Wow.
He did die in 6-3, but it wasn't a significant time loss since he was already Small Mario, and it was at the start of the level. It was a quintessential Karua world record. He went for fewer extravagant tricks compared to Mitch, but was steady nearly the whole way through. And it paid off beautifully. Mitch and Karua continued practicing in the lead up to AGDQ.
It's crazy to just watch the movement.
But neither lowered their 100% time. But then,
so precise,
day before the
so
marathon
fast.
was scheduled to start, Karua came through with one more world record. The first 111 in the game's history.
111? Okay.
It was a bit more of an up and down
Okay.
run, with Karua losing fire in World 3 and missing a tail swipe in 7-5, causing him to lose time going for the backup. But this run is notable for one particular trick Karua went for.
New trick?
It's not a huge time save, but is extremely difficult and punishing if missed.
Really?
The trick is in World 3, saves 3 seconds, and fittingly, is named Door 3.
Triple three.
In World 3's first fort, there's a hallway of doors that lead to different areas. You're supposed to go into the 6th door, then jump up to a higher door and enter the boss corridor. However, if you instead enter the 3rd door and press up to re-enter the door as soon as Mario spawns on the next screen, you can enter it again and are sent straight to the boss corridor. This saves 3 seconds over going to door 6, but it's incredibly risky. You only have 1 frame to press up as you spawn on the screen.
You can't just spam it?
And if you miss, you fall into the water and lose 11 seconds.
You lose 11
It's extremely
seconds.
high risk for not a huge reward. But Karua went for it since his run was off to a slow start, and it paid off.
Nice.
A few days later, Mitch and Karua had their GDQ run, and then both players took a break from 100%. The world record had entered the 111s, and although there's a limit to just how optimized an hour-long run can be, it was starting to get there. There weren't many huge time saves left. The smaller things were becoming more and more important. But when Karua came back to 100% runs in March, one element of the run in particular was gaining relevance. So far, we've talked about all the execution and tough tricks required in a 100% run. Building P-speed, getting clips, and all the rest. But we've been ignoring a big aspect of the speedrun. Mario 3 100% has one other major component. RNG. It's time to talk about the Hammer Brothers.
Oh boy.
The first 6 worlds in the game feature one or more Hammer Brothers on the overworld map. After every level you complete, or every time you die, these Hammer Brothers randomly move in an available direction. They only intend to move one space at a time, but they can only stop on an unoccupied tile. So if they land on a level or another Hammer Brother, they have to move again. All the Hammer Brothers move at the same time, but you have to wait for whatever the longest movement is to stop before Mario can move. So if one Hammer Brother moves once while the other moves twice, you end up taking the time loss from a movement of 2. Now, you can get some pretty long movements from the Hammer Brothers. In World 5, this Hammer Brother can't stop on the fort, and then can't stop on level 8 or level 9. So, he has to move 4 spaces before he can finally stop. Each additional movement costs 32 frames, or roughly half a second, so a movement of 4 loses a second and a half over the optimal movement of 1. But under perfect conditions, you can get even worse movements. If the Hammer Brothers never land on an open tile, they have to keep moving. They can even get stuck on top of each other if they meet at a three-way intersection.
Uh-oh.
Speedrunner Stewie Cartman has one of the longest Hammer Brother movements on record, and movements like this can theoretically take place in any playthrough of Mario 3. It probably goes without saying that if this happens in a run, it's an immediate reset.
Wow.
Even without a super long marathon movement, Hammer Brother movements can still cost the player big time over the course of a 100% run. An extra movement is only half a second, but there are dozens and dozens of spots for movements during a run. In World 5 alone, getting the worst possible versus the best possible Hammer Brother luck is about 21 seconds of difference. Extrapolate that to the full game, and one speedrun to the next can have significant time variance from RNG alone. So, when Karua came back to attempts in March 2014, Hammer Brother RNG mattered more than ever before. On March 27th, he got on a run that pulled ahead big time after World 3. This was partly thanks to quick Hammer Brother movements, but mostly because he didn't get hit in the fort like his last record. World 4 featured great Hammer Brother luck. 2 movements of 2 and 5 movements of 1, and he didn't have to travel far to fight them either. Unfortunately, World 5 wasn't as kind, as he got several movements of 3. Still, going into World 7, Karua had built up a substantial lead, and it just kept getting better. 7-1 clip was first try once again, and he got the tail swipe in 7-5 that he missed in the last record. Karua had a 17-second lead into World 8, but we already know how hard this world can be under pressure. These mistakes lost 12 seconds combined.
Dang.
Still a record by 5 seconds, but World 8 was starting to become a problem spot for Karua. But just a week later, he had a chance for redemption. Karua carried an 8-second lead after World 6, but this run is notable for the new strategies Karua went for in World 7. In 7-9, he successfully hit a clip that saves 5 seconds.
There you go.
Instead of having to navigate the maze normally, you can go right through the wall to skip a segment of it. And in the second fort, Karua went for a beautiful strategy where you preserve P-speed throughout the 2 rooms. It's incredible to watch. You must throw fireballs and time your jumps perfectly in room 1, then do incredibly precise jumps while ducking in room 2 so that you never slow down. These 2 strategies combined meant Karua was 15 ahead into World 8. This was his chance. But once again, World 8 stood between him and the world record. He needed a good world. And that's exactly what he got. It made for a remarkable 1:11.26. A world record cut of 27 seconds.
Okay.
The run was solid through World 5, but a gold World 6, combined with the new strategies in World 7 and a clean World 8, pushed it over the top. Simply put, this was an amazing world record. So amazing that for the next year, it would stand on top of the leaderboard unchallenged.
Wow.
But even with no competitors in sight, Karua still wanted to push his time lower. In early 2015, he came back to the category, largely thanks to a few new strategies he could use to shave off some time.
Oh, we got some new strats.
The biggest one was an overhaul of level 6-5. This is the infamous stage where you're supposed to build P-speed, then fly up with a Koopa shell to clear out the plants and make it to the pipe. Building P-speed is easy, but it took speedrunners time to pick up the Koopa shell. However, Karua began using the 6-5 despawn strat. Mario 3 only has 5 available sprite slots at a time. If a 6th sprite appears on screen, it'll simply be despawned right away. So, by running and not slowing down, then tail swiping a Buster Beetle, he'll stay on screen longer and take up a sprite slot. The next beetle is in slot 2, the Koopa is in slot 3, and the last beetle is in slot 4. With one open slot remaining, only one of the 2 plants above can spawn in.
Oh.
So, you can just fly up there and break the blocks without needing to use the Koopa shell.
Okay.
Using this new strategy and other smaller ones, Karua set 2 100% records in March 2015. A 111.24 followed by a 111.02. The gap on the leaderboard was now enormous. 54 seconds between him and second place. He had set 12 of the category's last 13 world records. He had held the record nearly non-stop since 2012. And now, his lead over anybody else in the world was nearly a full minute. And it was a good thing, because shortly after his 111.02, Karua obtained a working holiday visa, meaning he was going to be moving to Japan for the next year.
Oh.
And he wasn't going to be doing any speedrunning while
Dang.
gone. He had plans to come back to 100% runs upon his return, but for the next 12 months, he couldn't defend his title. But fortunately for Karua, his world record seemed to be in no danger. He left for Japan, still with no threats to the record in sight.
That is until... Newcomer? Oh, okay. Who we got?
Just 3 months into his absence, Karua's record was gone.
Newcomer?
The guy who did it was named I Love Mario.
I Love Mario.
When Karua left, he
Fitting
was
name.
54 seconds behind and didn't seem like a major threat. But a month later, the leaderboard looked a bit closer. And then it got a bit closer. And finally, on June 24th, 2015, he came through with this run.
Okay.
The first 110 in the game's history. I Love Mario would go on to set many records in Mario 2, Mario 3, and Mario Land 2 in the years to come. But this one was actually his very first Mario world record.
Really?
While Karua's run didn't have any huge mistakes, it still had flaws that I Love Mario was able to take advantage of. His big time saves revolved around building P-speed, namely in 4-1, World 4's second fort, and 5-5. In each of these stages, he managed to build P-speed early through precise platforming to save a couple seconds. They added up to be a pretty nice time save.
Okay.
7-1 clip was second try, and the world as a whole was quite clean. Credit to I Love Mario. He had swooped in and taken a world record that looked to be pretty safe. Karua was shocked. He knew his record wasn't perfect, but to be beaten after just 3 months away was definitely a surprise. But he was set on not doing attempts until he came back. Over the next few months, the leaderboard would become a bit cluttered at the top, but I Love Mario's run remained the only 110. The new year arrived with no changes. And finally, in the spring of 2016, Karua came back. His record had only lasted 3 months, but I Love Mario's world record lasted the remaining 9.
Wow.
It was still the time to beat. So, how would Karua respond? Well, in the past, Karua tended to mix in other games with his 100% attempts. But this time around, he decided he was going to do an all-out grind. His goal wasn't just to get the record back. His goal was to lower the time as much as he physically could. Because the time he was aiming for was a sub 110.30. This was Karua's ultimate grind. To get there, Karua was gonna have to squeeze all the time out of 100% that he could. He had a couple ways to help. Part 1, getting all the Koopa fire kills. At the end of each of the first 7 worlds, there's a Koopaling battle. The fastest way to defeat them is to use fireballs, but this can be quite difficult, since the Koopalings have seemingly random patterns that can throw everything off. However, their pattern can actually be determined ahead of time.
Ooh.
It all depends on the time spent on the overworld map between the last level and the airship. Every few frames, the Koopaling's pattern changes. So if you spend the same amount of time navigating to the airship, the pattern will be the same and you can plan your fire kill ahead. This can still be problematic. In World 2, for instance, there are multiple spots you can be before the airship. So, Karua had to plan this out for each of the 7 worlds. What possible patterns he could get, and how they match with his overworld movement. It was painstaking, but it allowed him to be much more consistent with the fire kills. And part 2. As always, there were new strategies in this grind.
Okay.
Karua implemented 2 big ones. The first was in 6-10, a strategy that allowed you to maintain P-speed through the whole level and hang on to Fire Mario. It goes without saying that this requires brutally tough platforming, but the end result saves a few seconds throughout World 6. The other new strategy was in 7-7. We've seen a lot of tricks in World 7, but this is easily the worst of them all. The most brutal, random, difficult, and all-around awful strategy in the game.
What is it?
This is the 7-7 clip.
What?
To get this to work, you need to land on the corner pixel
Smack
of the
your
pipe.
belly right at the corner.
That means there's both a vertical and horizontal component of getting the clip. You need the correct vertical pixel, plus the correct horizontal pixel,
Wow.
and the correct subpixels for both the horizontal
God.
and vertical directions.
Oh, jeez.
If everything is done correctly, and you get lucky with the subpixels to get the clip first try, it saves 17 seconds over playing
17. Wow, that's
Getting
pretty
it
worth
first
it.
try is both figuratively and literally a pipe dream. Past runners had tried for the 7-7 clip before, but not to much success. Karua avoided the trick over the years, but for this grind, the 17-second time save was too good to pass up. But every miss shaves a few seconds off of the time save, and by the 6th try, it's impossible to gain time. Karua only
Dang.
got it about 25% of the time by the 6th try, meaning 75% of runs were essentially killed by this one trick,
Wow.
an hour into the run. It's absolutely brutal. World 7 as a whole had turned into a nightmare. You've got the 7-1 clip, the 7-7 clip, the 7-9 clip, and several other difficult levels. But it's what Karua had to do if he wanted this grind to be a success.
It's true.
It's
a lot of seconds
come together if Karua was going to
For a
pull
speed
this off.
run at this point.
After many weeks of practice, in the summer of 2016, Karua got to work. On July 6th, Karua was on a solid run through World 3. He got great Hammer Brother movements and even got Door 3. The next few worlds were up and down, but he was within striking distance going into World 7, a position he had been in several times over the past few weeks. But the world got off to a good start. Second try 7-1 clip. The next few levels were clean as well, including the shell throw in 7-5. And then, he arrived at 7-7.
First try? Oh!
This just got
What?
real. Although he lost some time later in the
Okay.
world, first try 7-7 was
Let's
enough
go.
for a gold split.
Nice.
But there was still World 8. We've seen Karua struggle here before.
The
And
pressure.
Sure enough, in 8-1, he lost P-speed to lose a few seconds. But he still closed it out for a 1:10.52. For the first time in
Wow.
over a year, Karua was the 100% record holder.
Okay.
He was officially back. That was the game plan to get his goal. Take a lottery ticket into World 7, pray the ticket hits to get all the clips required, then hold it together in World 8.
Hold it together.
Karua had 23 seconds to go. This is what he did over the following weeks.
Yeah, 17 seconds is too good to pass up at this point. Trying to hit that. It's always crazy just to watch the movement. It's so precise. It's crazy. On an NES controller. World 8 gets worse and worse. I don't think my hands could take doing this on an NES controller. And if you're going for full 100% runs, it's an hour a try. Over an hour a try. So you only get so many tries in a day.
At the end of July 2016, Karua had a remarkable improvement. Just 5 seconds away from his goal.
Ooh.
And finally, he had a run with a clean World 8. He saved 6 seconds in that world alone, which took the run into the 1:10:30s. There was still room to shave a few seconds off. He had lost fire in 4-1 and took a few tries to do the clips in World 7. But overall, it was a really clean run. There just wasn't much time left to save. With 3 world records in July, Karua was flying high. These 2 weeks had been among the most fruitful in his entire speedrunning career. So, he decided to take a short but well-deserved break. He returned in August and started doing more runs, needing just 1 more record to achieve his goal. But all of a sudden, it's like Karua ran into a wall.
Uh-oh.
He wasn't seeing any more improvements.
Dang.
He was getting bad Hammer Brother movements, no clips in World 7. All of a sudden, nothing was working. And time started to pass. September came around, then October, and the record stayed at 1:10:34. Sometimes in speedrunning, we set goals that are too lofty. It's much easier to imagine a perfect run than to actually play it. And it
True.
seems that's what Karua had done. He had been a 100% record holder for 4 years, and knew what the culmination of all his skills could be. That would be a sub 1:10:30. But 3 months after his 1:10:34, despite a massive effort, Karua hadn't made any progress. 5 seconds away had to be good enough. This was the end of the road for Karua.
Oh, Sag.
And then came November 9th, 2016, when maybe the craziest run in Mario 3 history took place.
Oh boy.
Do you remember anything about the attempt session leading up to it, or was it just like any normal day?
Honestly, I don't remember anything in particular about it. Yeah, the start was pretty standard, I would say. The RNG was actually bad, so I was slightly behind, but
Really?
World 1 and World 2, as long as you're within 2 or 3 seconds, it's not really gonna make a huge difference. So in the end, getting out of World 3, the pace was acceptable. Nothing special, but nothing bad.
Okay.
The run really started picking up at World 4. Basically, I got B-speed in every spot where I wanted it, particularly in the first and the second fort. So everything went right.
4 worlds into the run, Karua was 6 seconds ahead,
Okay.
putting him on pace for sub 1:10:30. But there was still a long way to go.
When I reached World 5, at that point I wasn't too excited about the run. In the entire run, World 5 is the one with the most RNG. The difference between good and bad RNG for the hammer movement is just insane. So I got a really low number of movements, and I just nailed every single stage. Like, the world was virtually perfect.
Wow.
World 6 is, in my opinion, the second hardest world after World 7. It's more about the execution for World 6, and it's really, really intense. So many stages are difficult, and again, like World 5, execution was on top in every single stage. I don't think I missed a single thing I went for in World 6.
Wow.
I think it was my best pace by 5 seconds entering World 7. So yeah, I was definitely feeling the pressure.
This was the best chance Karua had ever had to get a sub 1:10:30. But he started off with a first try 7-1.
Ooh.
Getting 7-1 first try, you're always happy, but at the same time, I know 7-7 is where it's gonna be decided. So I was happy, but I was just waiting for 7-7 really.
And finally, Karua arrived at 7-7.
Ooh.
On the pace of his life,
Gotta hit that belly
he
flop.
just had to get this eventually,
At the right
and
angle.
he'd have a golden opportunity.
Does he get a first shot? Oh, let's go! Oh, wow. Oh, yeah.
I think my heart rate rised quite a lot.
Mine would
Getting
too.
7-7
Jesus.
first try.
Wow.
Wow, this is actually happening.
Oh, wow.
Getting the 7-9 zip was a bonus, just the cherry on top.
That's
We
crazy.
had been looking at the wrong line all along. We're not talking about a sub 1:10:30 anymore.
Sub 110.
Unbelievably, Karua was moments away from getting the world's first 109.
Wow.
And it's weird because on one hand you're like, did I misjudge my goal? Or is it just that special? And I think it was just that special.
Wow.
That run it really was special.
But we had all seen Karua's struggles in World 8 before.
The pressure
Now, with more on the line than
of the
ever
last
before,
world.
he had to get a good World 8.
Interestingly, I wasn't feeling really pressured by World 8, even though I failed before. Despite that, I was very confident because I was playing well, so I wasn't really feeling much pressure in that regard, I think.
He kept going, level by level, getting closer to the 109.
No.
And then, yeah, 8-1 happened. The truth is,
No.
I was actually not focused enough because I remember I was thinking ahead. I was thinking about a strat I was considering doing in the fort 2 stages later, and I pressed jump too early and didn't jump.
No.
Yeah, we saw the results. I didn't know if I could even finish the run because I was so upset at myself. And I ended up getting a hit in 8-2 because of it. I just didn't care at that point. I actually knew I would probably get the record if I didn't do anything incredibly stupid afterwards. So I expected to maybe get a record by, I don't know, 5-6 seconds or something. Instead, I'm absolutely crushing
Still
my
sub
goal
110:30.
despite what happened. So I had
He hit his goal.
conflicted emotions about it. At the time, I was really upset, but that run was so
A
special
decade of
that
therapy.
I still became quite happy about it quite quickly.
What a bizarre speed run.
Wow.
Karua had accomplished his goal. In fact, he had crushed it. Yet it felt so unfulfilling.
Because he
was in a
could have
position to take
had.
the record years
Wow,
ahead
he
of
could
his
have had a
time, but
109.
fell short at the last minute.
Dang.
You know, after the kind of the dust had settled, did you have any thoughts about trying to lower the time further, or did you know that you were done?
I briefly considered continuing and getting another PB, but it would still be way worse, relatively speaking, compared to what that run could have been. So
That's the problem. The farther
I
you get,
just need
the
to stop
harder it
that run.
is.
That run was
Dang.
6.5 years ago. Karua hasn't done a 100% run since, and he stopped speedrunning as a whole in 2017.
Oh.
But my goodness, did he go out on top.
That's not the current record, is it?
This was the leaderboard the day Karua set the 1:10:19. This was the leaderboard a year later. The gap had closed by
An
just
entire
2
year.
seconds. There's
Wow.
Mega Man 2 record
What up,
holder
Shadow?
Amnesia
Good
in
to see ya.
second place. Let's move another year forward. Runners were starting to get into the 110s now, but still, Karua's record was comfortably on top. At
Chilling
this
on
point,
top.
We're in late 2018, and these runners with 110s, Louis,
I got the best emote right
Television,
here, Shadow.
Orstad,
The best
they
one.
were all excellent Mario 3 players, but none of their runs had world record potential. Even 2 full years later, none of these guys could catch up to Karua. It seemed like the 110-19 was destined to stay on top. There seemed to be no hope.
It's the new emote.
Wait a minute.
An ugly picture of myself.
Mitch had been a 100% record holder before, back in 2014.
Is Mitch making a
Since then,
comeback?
he had focused hard on Warpless,
Flower power?
being ahead of Karua there for most of the last 4 years. If any runner in the top 10 had a shot of beating the 110-19,
It would be Mitch.
It would be Mitch. He had limited interest.
I'm an
in
emo
other
god? Ew.
but in late 2018,
It's just an ugly
he
photo of
decided
my
to give it
face.
another shot. His PB was a mid 111, and he very quickly.
You should
rose
see the
up the
unedited
leaderboard.
picture of it.
By
It's
the
even
end of
it's even
November,
scarier.
He was in second place, 12 seconds behind Karua. He'd then achieve a 110.29, and later a 110.26.
Ooh, Mitch getting close.
These runs were notable because they both had a chance at
Getting
the
close.
world record entering World 7. But he couldn't get the first try clips that were in the 110.19. Even with the 20-second time loss in World 8, Karua's world record was so tough to go against.
I
There
just thought it was a
just
goofy
no
idea
margin
for an
error
emote.
in the first 7 worlds.
I had no real intention for it.
2019 came around.
Just take my
and
face
Mitch
and
was still 7 seconds
distort it.
behind Karua's world record. On January 4th, Mitch got on a run roughly even with Karua's record entering World 3. He'd then proceed to lose time in each of the following 5 worlds. He lost Fire in 4-4 and lost P-Speed in 6-10. He missed 7-9 clip and took 2 tries to get 7-7. But entering World 8, Mitch was actually going to have a shot at this because he kept it close. Losing time against Karua's record was expected. Mitch was 16 seconds behind and could make
16
that time
seconds,
up in
that's
World
big.
8. But of course, he had to avoid a critical mistake.
Yeah.
We did it. Nice. Nice.
110.14.
For the first time in 5 years, the 100% record belonged to Mitch.
Wow.
He didn't
5
use many new
years later.
strategies either. He simply let his skills from the past few years take him past Karua. Overall, it was an extremely balanced run, with solid Hammer Brother RNG and no bad worlds. And most importantly, after a 2-year reign at the top, the 110.19 was no longer the time to beat. Mitch and Karua were synonymous with Mario 3 speedrunning. For years, when you looked at the Warpless or 100% leaderboards, their names were always in the top 2 spots, and now was no exception. But who's
My
in
weekend was
third
pretty good,
place?
Shadow.
That would be Luke.
Other than recovering
with a
from my
110.35.
back tweak.
He had been sneaking up in
injury.
the background ever
Not really
since
an injury,
cutting the
but
111.
I just
While
tweaked my
Mitch
lower
was setting
back,
the
so
record with a 110.14,
just been laying around
Louis remained only 20
horizontally
seconds
versus
behind,
vertically.
easily the top active runner behind Mitch. And when Mitch stepped aside from 100% after setting the record, it was Louis' time to shine.
Oh, Louis getting close. Okay. I don't know what I did. I just did too much in the gym mixed with, work requires me to strain my lower back, unfortunately, in bad positions. So it was just a combination of the two. And then I had to cut one of my
In July 2019,
workouts short
after a
because I was
steady
like,
series of PB
my back's going to break.
Louis broke
But it's,
through with a
I would say it's like
110.08,
90% at this point.
taking the top spot by
90%
6
back?
full seconds. This was the first time in 4 years that neither Mitch nor Karua set the 100% record. And there's one key trick that Louis was able to use to his advantage. 7-1 subpixel manipulation. To get the 7-1 clip, your subpixel value needs to be correct. This value can range anywhere from 0 to 15, and normally it's impossible to pick your value. But there's a few rules you can use to help.
Ooh, okay.
Rule 1. Tapping left or right for one frame will usually decrease or increase it by one value, while tapping it for 2 frames will usually move
all this
it
on
by
an
4
NES
values.
controller.
Rule
God.
2. Having a subpixel value between 0 and 6 means the duck clip will work in 7-1. And rule 3.
Sounds like a crazy book,
when
Shadow.
wrapping around from subpixel 15 to 0,
Female
Mario
authors.
visually moves forward.
Frickin' whammon.
After the World
Am I
6
right?
Koopa fight, you have
JK.
a brief window where you can set up your subpixels for the next level, which is 7-1.
I haven't read a fiction book in
By
forever.
quickly tapping right and stopping when you see Mario visually
What's the
move,
book's title?
you'll usually stop between a value of 0 and 6. This makes the 7-1 clip much easier to hit on the first try as long as you do the inputs correctly.
Is it some
Which is
Swedish book?
exactly what Louis was able to do in
Not
his
allowed in the US?
So, 110.08 was the record. It had been 3 years since Karua's 110.08.
110.08.
And despite the run advancing quite a bit since then, nobody could match that run's potential.
Until
109 sat just out of reach. Louis would hold on to the record for the next few months, but by late 2019, the desire to get under 110 picked up. Enough was enough, and the race for the first 109 was officially on.
Okay, there's enough people in it now.
Mitch was the favorite to get it, given his resume of past
Teach me
Mario
so many
favorites.
words.
But runners like Louis
think you
and
spell
I
it
Love
like
Mario
this.
were close, and several
Like just
other
with an
runners
A.
had times in the 110s as well. If any of these guys were actively running the game, they had a chance at this too. There was some clear time to save.
1,000 heartbeats?
There were a few
Oh my
stages where he
gosh.
missed P-speed, he got some rough Hammer Brother luck in World
That
5,
is pretty cheesy.
and missed the Koopa Fire Kill in World
It's either
6.
spelled like that or like this.
So the question was, who would clean all that up first?
I don't know.
Well, in November 2019, Mitch got on a super fast run. The first 3 worlds were all beautiful, and he saved time in World 4 by not missing P-speed in the second fort. He got better Hammer Brother luck in World 5 to save a few seconds, and got the World 6 Koopa Fire Kill. The stars had aligned. Mitch was 13 seconds ahead going into World 7, but it was time for the clips.
Oh, I went back to my roots, man. Thank God.
It's making good time. Does he get a first try? Yep. Ooh. That's 17 seconds saved right there. First shot.
Okey-dokey.
He matched Louis' first try clips.
The thug
Here we are
Wikipedia.
again.
Like Urban Dictionary.
109 pace into World 8. Mitch needed one more clean world. And
Thug
this would be it.
Wikipedia.
What? Who does that? Get it together!
Sub 110. Come on.
No way, dude.
Come on. Focus
I'm almost
up.
at that level. I think I've lost like too much time at this point.
Focus up. Focus
Well,
up.
It was still a world record,
But not
once
sub
again,
10.
The 109 had been lost
Dang.
to World 8, 4 seconds away from the goal. Since he'd gotten the record back, Mitch stopped running 100%.
Yeah, it's pretty ridiculous, Shadow. I don't know.
Leaving the door open
People
to
are weird.
others to get the 109. But 6 months later, barely anything had changed. Mitch was on top, Louis was in second, and pretty much the entire top 10 was the same. One exception. New to the top 10 was Maiba, who was in 6th place with a 110.32. Half a minute from the record, not being in the top
Are they going to
5.
get the first sub
Surely
110?
Maiba wasn't going to be the guy to get this. Right?
I think my buzz to look out for.
On May 11th, Maiba got on a run that had a slight
He's on a
mishap with
Famicom.
the Hammer Brother fight in World 3. He also got slow Hammer
I wonder
Brother
if there's a
in
difference
4 and missed P-speed in the
between the
second fort.
Famicom and the
After a fantastic
NES.
World 5 and a solid World 6, he was just a few seconds behind the record, but he was well ahead of his personal best. And the clips in World 7 Maiba was on
His
the run
chat
of
is
his
kinda
life.
cool. His
Everything
on-screen
was
chat.
working. Was he actually about to do this? Go straight from 6th to 1st place? Once again,
Let's
just
see it.
one world separated him from the first 109.
Let's see it. Let's see it. Come on.
It's over.
No, he didn't get it? Oh, no, no, no. The pressure of World 8.
How did this keep happening? He
Dang.
lost 18 seconds in World 8.
It's the
And
pressure.
again, the first 109 had slipped away. It was enough for Maiba to move up to 3rd place, but knowing what this run could have been was pretty crushing. By late 2020, nearly 4 years had passed since Karua's run.
Wow.
Still no 109. There had certainly been enough chances, but nobody could quite convert. Well, in September 2020, another runner began climbing up the leaderboard. His name was Chikubi. He took his
Chikubi.
PB under 110.20 and then into 3rd place. Maybe he could be the one to do this.
Maybe.
In the past, Chikubi was pretty much
Perhaps.
constantly in the top 10, but had never threatened the world
Horstad.
record. Yet in late
Shout out Horstad.
2020, he began a steady march of PB improvements, culminating with this run on October 16th. Chikubi got fantastic Hammer Brother luck in the middle worlds. Great patterns, quick movements, it was pretty much the best case scenario, and it all added up to an incredible 11-second lead over the world record after World 5.
From just
The
RNG
best
with
pace
the Hammer
anyone
Bros?
had ever been on.
Or just in general,
He
I guess.
started bleeding time in World 6 with a missed star grab,
Ooh.
late P-speed in 6-4, and a movement of 4. And 7-7 clip was 4th try, which
Dang.
is good but not great.
Not first
But
try.
despite all that, he was still ahead of the record into World 8. Once again, with a really good world,
Yeah, I know.
he could get the 109.
There's not much drama
And guess what?
in these
Chikubi
runs.
played an excellent World 8. His only mistake was a very small one in Bowser's Castle. But he didn't get the 109 because he got pulled in by all 3 hands. Each hand has a 50-50 chance of pulling you in, which loses a second and a half over manually selecting the level.
Oh.
The odds of being pulled in by all 3 hands is just 1 in 8.
Dang.
If he was pulled in by one hand,
I am the
before,
drama.
this would have been the 109.
Always.
Instead, he had to settle for a 110.02. A world record.
So
yes,
close.
but this was getting
110.02.
The
Oh,
109
come on.
still
It's gotta
eluded
happen.
everyone. Maybe they
It has
needed
to.
some more help. So many times they
Can't
had
just
been
leave it
a
at
few seconds away.
110.02.
With a faster strategy or two, it could push them over the top. Well, in October 2020, Mitch came back to the 100%.
Come on, Mitch.
grind. And sure enough, he had a few new strategies to help. And thankfully, they were all in World 7, the toughest world in the game.
Okay.
For 7-1, he had a new subpixel manipulation set up for a standing jump, which was just a little bit easier than the duck jump. In 7-2, he had a new strategy he had adopted from the TAS. Instead of turning back at the start, you can just go forward and intentionally take damage, then just barely build P-speed before reaching the gap.
Oh, okay.
It's quite difficult, but saves a little over 2 seconds. But the big one was in 7-5. If you equip a P-wing and a star, then do a frame-perfect jump into the corner of the pipe, you're practically guaranteed to have the correct subpixels to clip through the wall. Now, a frame-perfect jump isn't easy, but this saves more than 6 seconds if done correctly,
Okay.
which is huge. Add that to Fast 7-2's
New
time
American
save,
drama on
and
TikTok. Oh
suddenly
boy.
Mitch had a
sure
lot
there's no
more
shortage
wiggle
of
room
that.
to get the 109. So he got back to attempts, and on October 28th he had a great run going. 2 seconds behind the record after World 6, Mitch knew he had time to save coming
He's
up with
close.
new strategies.
Only
And
2
he
seconds
did.
behind.
First try 7-1,
Ooh.
fast 7-2, the clip in 7.5,
Okay.
and second try 7.7.
Second try. Okay.
Just like that, Mitch was 5 seconds ahead, putting him on pace.
He's
for a
on
1:09.57.
He's on pace for it.
Here we go again. World 8
He's on
stood
pace.
between Mitch and the world's first 109.
Is it true the Americans don't think the Chinese are a threat? Well, Americans think that we're the best at everything, so no.
110.
I don't think we think anyone is a threat.
That's it.
Just in general.
Didn't give it to me. Unbelievable.
I'm not saying we shouldn't, but
It's over.
it's more of like a general idea, I guess.
Ah, come on, man.
Oh no! No!
Come on.
1 second?
How did this keep happening?
No!
It was another record, but
No.
yet another failed 109.
Come on, Mitch!
Karua's
Oh.
run 4 years ago set the trend, and ever since then, World 8 was like a shield to the 109. Mitch took damage, he missed P-speed, he failed a clip. It just seemed impossible to get a good World 8 on a good pace.
Dang.
Mitch, Jacoby, Maiba, Karua, some of the best players in the world had tried and failed.
Karua's got to come back and just make a
109
crazy
just wasn't
run.
happening. Did somebody else need to step up to get it done?
Maybe?
Well, a few
Horsted?
more months passed, and 2021 came
Come
around.
on, horse dad.
Early that year, Mitch decided to give the 100% grind one more try. He was 2 seconds away, and had far more time than that to save in World 8 alone. He could do this. And on February 7th, 2021, Mitch had this run.
2021.
It bled time early. He got worse luck in World 2 and made a mistake in World 4's first fort.
But?
He also had a time loss in 5-2 and had to travel far to fight the Hammer Brothers.
But?
As such, he was far behind entering World 6. But he cleaned up some small mistakes there
Okay.
and had an excellent World 7.
Oh, there you go.
This looks familiar. Mitch was a bit behind, but had several seconds to save coming up. Just once, World 8 had to be clean.
Come on.
This had to be the time to do it.
So much pressure. Getting personal data through TikTok. Oh, that was released when like the app first started. Like we knew that they were getting our info. I think people just don't care. TikTok's audience is young enough to where the
Surprise, right?
kids don't
Not
care
surprise.
for some reason. They should, but
The one level with the bad RNG.
made it to Waterworld level
happened
2 and
again.
never further.
Another
No.
time loss in World 8.
You should go back to it,
Was
Shadow.
the 109 just cursed to never
Go get an
exist?
NES.
All Mitch could do now
Mario
was
3 is
finish
so-
out the run
so good.
and see what time he got.
A classic. Or you could just get the NES. I think the NES Classic has Mario 3. If it doesn't, it should. That would be a much easier. Your mom threw them out. Disown your mom. Get rid of her. Don't talk to her ever again. Dang. Freaking parents, man. They don't know.
In 2016,
God.
Karua paved the path. In 2020, Maiba and Jacoby provided hope. And in 2021, Mitch made it a reality. It wasn't a perfect run,
So he got it.
but aside from taking damage, which cost a couple seconds, Mitch finally had a great World 8. The whole community could take a breather.
Wow.
The 109 was real.
Let's go, Mitch.
But the breather didn't last very long.
Oh,
Just a month and a half later, Mitch lost his world record. And the runner
To
to
who?
take it was Maiba. The same
Ooh.
guy who missed the first 109 months earlier
Oh.
thanks to a bit of a meltdown in World 8.
Okay.
But this time, there was no meltdown. He got a 109.58.
Oh my
beating
god.
Mitch
By
by
milliseconds.
points.
Wow.
Maiba ended up missing some of the toughest P-speed strategies.
Collected
that Mitch
hockey
got.
cards? Are you a big hockey fan?
4-5 and 5-1 in particular
What?
are two of the toughest spots
Entire
in the run
folder
to
in the
get P-speed.
trash.
Ultimately, Maiba wasn't able to get either of them. Instead, he aimed to clean up mistakes that Mitch had made, particularly in World 6, That's pretty much exactly what happened. Maiba bled a bit of time through World 5, but had a nearly mistake-free World 6, despite not getting early P-speed in 6-4. Even though he lost time in both 7-1 and 7-2, he left himself just enough room to snag the record.
Wow.
I don't
Oh
know,
my.
but 109. Yes.
By frames.
Yatta!
That's crazy.
So, here we are. It's mid-2021. The 109 had been accomplished.
Wow.
Mitch was the first to get it, but Maiba had finally gotten the record he'd been looking for so long.
Nice.
Everyone was happy. What more was there to do? Well, people have a natural tendency to keep pushing the limits.
Mm-hmm.
If their goals have been accomplished, they set new ones. Maybe just to add one more chapter to a storied history. Or maybe to see what the human limits are. It was for all these reasons and more that in July 2021, Mitch returned to do one final grind of Mario 3 100%.
Okay.
My goal time in mind after Maiba beat my run was just to get it back.
Yeah, let's go,
In
Mitch.
Mario 3, every time you break
Take
a
him down.
boundary,
Take the
massive
Famicom
amount
player
of
down.
pressure is lifted off of your chest.
What? Oh, what an insane World 2.
I like his
I
hat.
got
It's a
off-screen
little
wand grab,
flower,
and
but
it's a trick where you can jump off the
with the
wall and grab
Canadian
wand at the top
leaf.
of the screen, and once you do that, you don't have to screen wrap down, and it saves about 4 seconds. You kind of tighten up a little bit after off-screen wand grab. It gets serious when you get it. World
Okay.
3, one of the biggest ones is the runaway.
There you go,
And
Shadow.
what
Now
that
you're
means is
invested.
One of the Hammer brothers that you want to fight as early as possible, right? Because you want them to stop moving. He moves right across level 6. And if he does that, every level you beat until you get to level 6 or past level 6, he's going to keep moving. So after getting off-screen wand grab and then that happened to me, it's a real gut punch right there, because I mean that's a solid like anywhere between 5 to even 9 seconds depending on how far he goes.
Mm.
World 4 just started to work really clean. I don't think I got a massive amount of Hammer Brother movements, and then I got another off-screen wand grab, so that just completely changed the route again. I mean, it was just a bag of emotions. So we come into World 6, and I'm
Hold
I'm
it
playing
together.
great, but then
Hold it
I'm
together.
just
Keep
not
your
keeping
emotions
the tight P-speed
in
strategies
check.
that I
Come
should
on.
be. 6-3 didn't work. 6-4 also didn't work, and I was getting some pretty big
World
Hammer
8
Brother
will
movements.
eat you up.
Then I missed one of the newer installments of strategies in 7.5 by using a P-Wing and a star. So right there with 7.1 and 7.5 was like 10 seconds lost already.
Dang.
I was too far behind on my run, so I had to kind of switch up what I was doing, and that involved doing the clips in 7.9, which there's 4 of them. Odds of you getting them, you know, all first try are very small, but they just save enough
It looks like
time
the most
that
Canadian
if you
hockey
go for
playing
them and get
man.
them all, you might be able to save the run. Now the issue
I'm
with
sure
that
if he's
is that
from
if you
Canada, he's
get
a
all
fan.
4 of them, there's nowhere to get your fire flowers. So I had to change up my routing on the fly and go for the hammer suit strategy,
Wow.
which is pretty close to the same for the end part of World 7. So in 7.9, going for the clips, I got 2-1, 2-1, and what that means is that with the 4 clips, 2 for the first one took me 2 tries, 1 was first try, the 3rd clip was 2nd try, and the 4th clip was 1 try. Yeah, so we're approaching World 8, and we just had to do this on the fly hammer suit. You know, don't overextend it, just try and get the strats that you know.
It's got
And
9 seconds.
so 8-1 and 8-2 and 8-4 went pretty smooth. I didn't have any massive mistakes that cost me a whole lot of time.
Oh
And
no.
then we just clutched out Bowser's Castle.
Oh!
Yes!
109.56. Let's go.
No way. No way.
That's by 2 seconds?
It felt great to get the world record back from Maiba, and to know that I was able to come and bring it back.
Yeah,
at a
take him
time
down.
that, you know, better represents my ability. It felt really good. After getting the record back with a run like that, I mean, I had runaway, bro, in World 3. I mean, that's such a massive time loss, and I was feeling very consistent, so I just didn't want to stop there. I wanted to keep going and see if I can get that free World 3 time save and maybe a couple more off-screen
Wow.
wand grabs, see what happens. in World 2, I didn't get the off-screen one grab, so I automatically.
So he's just still running it. He's
we all
still
know that I
running.
got the runaway, bro, and that's
Running
it's a
it,
big
trying to
time
get
save
a
if I don't
quicker
get it.
time
And
save.
luckily enough, I didn't get that. We came and clutched out a World 1, 2, and 3 at pretty much being on pace with the world record. Nothing
Okay.
crazy. World 4 is a great example of soul crushing, and then I got a move into 4 and a move into 6, and it really pushes you down because World 4 has got a lot of hard strategies. Keep the run going. I have time to save in World 6. Let's just keep going. So World 6 actually came out pretty smooth. I didn't have any big mistakes. I started World 7 being behind by about 2.5 seconds or something. I need to clutch out 7-1 first try, which I did, which was really good. 7-2 went well. 7-5 though is another level with big time save. I didn't get the clip in the previous world record, and I do nail it, which is
nice.
really good. So at that moment
There you go.
there, I know, okay, this run is real now. We nailed 7-7.
Okay.
We got that third try, which is the same, so we didn't lose any time. And then we just finished off World 7 normally with Fire Flower, which brought me in somewhere around -7 seconds compared to the world record. So it was serious at that point.
Okay.
With
He's
this
trying to
run, I
beat
was
his own
finally able to
record.
execute some new P-speed strategies in World 8 in the hand levels, where you use a star and 8 trap 1, and you turn back and you get like P-speed. I was able to do that in this run, and then I got a P-speed strategy in hand trap 2, which is another about a second time save.
What do you get? 52. Wow.
What?
4 seconds from his previous
Being able to
run.
finally clutch out a
6
semi-decent World
from the
7
Japanese
clips
player.
7-7 third try. That's
Okay.
everything you would ask for in a World 7. So I felt
Wow.
really good about this run. So I was really happy with it.
There we go.
Did your
109.52.
goals shift at all after getting the 52, or were you like, let me just keep going and see what time I can get?
So my answer is I have no idea why I kept going.
He's just still running it. Is he getting even lower time?
So it was a normal day.
Sub
I was doing my
109.50?
normal runs, and
Potentially?
World 1 went really well. And World 2,
This
I
guy's
got
just
some
going
pretty
after it.
decent RNG, and the run was looking good, and then all of a sudden I got an off-screen wand grab. And that is the best way to start your 100% runs, off-screen wand grab.
Okay.
And I started to get all movements of 1 in World 3, and I was like, is this actually going to be like the God World 3 run? Did the normal strats, banked on some Hammer Brother RNG, and World 3 cleaned up really nicely. World 4 normally ends a lot of 100% runs, a lot of weird movements, but luckily for me, I ended up being 0.08 off my gold, so absolutely everything that happened in World 4 was what I wanted to happen.
Okay.
We had an amazing World 1, 2, 3, and 4, which is incredibly rare in 100%. I opened up World 5 with a movement of 4,
Yup. Right away, first movement, a movement of 4.
and then another movement of 4,
2 movements of 4 in a row. Let's go, baby.
and then
So he's
another
getting
movement
good
of 4.
RNG with the
We
Hammer
got that
Bros.
one. 3 movements of 4 in a row. What
Nice.
a surprise.
And I got another movement of 4.
4 movements in a row, baby. Let's go.
So the rest of World 5 went really well.
So he
For
got
the
really
most
good
part in
RNG
World
with
5,
those
I did
Hammer
manage
Bros
to
on the map.
Successfully do all the P-speed strategies that I want to do. World 6, the Hammer Brothers were really nice to me, and I didn't make any other slip-ups, so I actually came out of World 6 ahead. Normally,
Okay.
I'm pretty nervous when I'm ahead of the world record going to World 7. I had standard nervous, but this wasn't anything crazy special at the moment. So the first half of World 7 went really, really well. 7-1 first try, and I got fast 7-2. 7-5, though, went beautifully. I managed to get the star, the P-wing, get that clip perfectly,
Ooh.
and I was able to get a good tail swipe, clean under, keep all my speed. Because at first I was saying, you know, when I enter World 7, it's not like anything special, but World 7 is starting to make everything that happened before that amazing. So I'm very nervous at this point. After getting 7-1 and 7-5, I am really, really nervous.
Gotta hold it together. Does he get first shot? He does. Wow.
I was so like blown away that I actually
Oh.
nailed it first try on a run like that.
Wow.
I just did not believe that I got it first try.
He is on pace for something crazy right now.
You rarely ever maximize your gameplay with 7-7 perfectly. As soon as I nailed 7-7, I was extremely nervous, and I had to go
Hold
into
it together.
And
Hold it
we ended
together.
up clutching 7-9 with an actual time save. We were able to clutch out the Fortress and clutch out the Piranha Plant stage. It was by far the best World 7 I've ever had, alongside the best run I've ever had, as you can tell. But
wow.
It was insane. It was insane. So after a World 7 like that and a run like that, going into World 8, I was extremely nervous. There's so many little things that can screw you up.
I think this is gonna save like seconds, like
insane.
close to sub
After all
1
those
hour.
thoughts running through my head, we approach hand stage 1, and I actually nailed it with the start. 8-1 worked out okay. 8-2,
Oh no, it's more close to 109.
I was surprised worked out okay. One of the things to note with Bowser's Castle is that the 3 hardest things I would say in the level is the statue room at the end, getting P-speed there, the 1-up clip,
Mm.
and then the last one is the duck jump at the very end on the donuts. Once you get past the donut spot, you can say to yourself, oh my god, I actually did it. However, Bowser does have one pattern where he can jump and shoot the fireball at the same time, and when he does that, the fireball will be shot where you're standing.
Oh no.
There's nothing you can do.
What are the odds of that? No. Does that happen to him? Oh no. No, it doesn't? Wow. Okay. What was that? 109
I'm so shaky.
30? 109 40? 109 38.
What? No
Wow.
way! No way!
Okay.
Oh my god.
It's crazy.
It ended up being my most impressive run that perfectly represented my abilities as a gamer, which never happens in speedrunning. Everyone in speedrunning is always trying to chase their potential, and you never hit it.
Beaten the Japanese player
It
by
is a run where I
20
don't ever
seconds.
have to go back for it again, but I'm going to. But I don't have to.
I think it's a few seconds
Nearly
off.
2 years have passed since this run, and it's remained on top without any close calls.
Ooh.
To this day, there are runners actively trying to beat it, including Mitch himself. As incredible as it is, one day this record too will fall, just like all the ones that came before it.
Mm.
This has been the history of Mario 300% world records. Thanks for watching.
Okay. Wow.
If you'd
Crazy.
like to be notified when I upload a new video, please hit that subscribe button. Thanks.
It's crazy to think these runs that take over an hour just to complete it once. How much time, how much effort. It's crazy. Wow. Great video. Hey there, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. If you want to see more of my content, feel free to subscribe. If you want to see even more content, I film all of my videos live on my Twitch channel. Feel free to click the first link in the description. Be sure to follow my Twitch channel and know exactly when I go live. Interact with me live on stream, as well as other people in chat, and see a look behind the scenes on every video that I film. Thank you so much. Bye.